I warmly welcome you to the 9th Logitrans as well. I'm very delighted to run this year's new Logitrans format, Tea&Talk, which is an interview concept dealing with the Turkish logistics market, automotive business, with the frame economic business between Germany, Central Europe, and the Turkish market as well. We will have about 14 interviews over the next couple of days from the ministries, from leading logistics companies like today, from Ekol, from Netlog, from port operators, a very different program. So I'm very delighted to run the show here on the Logitrans. My name is Stefan Iskan'ın. I'm a professor for supply chain management and e-business at the University of Applied Sciences in Ludwigshafen am Rhein, where your trains are arriving, Mr. Brzuska. Right. I will let you know about that later on. And in parallel, I'm academic advisor of the AYSBERG Medya Grubu. Again, thanks a lot. Today afternoon, joining is Mr. Brzuska. Mr. Brzuska is General Manager International of Ekol.
Right.
Mr. Brzuska, you are in the Turkish leading company Ekol since February this year. Previously, you worked for logistics companies like Rhein Group and also company like DB Schenker Logistics in Poland. What motivated you to join Ekol?
Thank you very much for inviting us, for inviting me for this interview. We respect that a lot. I think that for your question there are two answers. One is more corporate and one is more personal. So let me start with the corporate answer. Not talking anything bad about the other companies that you mentioned because they are renowned and reputable.
For sure.
But surely what I saw in Ekol was a promise of something else, a promise of something new, a promise of being able to go through a dynamic growth period where you can really let it go. Because we are in Asia, but also we are in Europe. So we are in the place where the events are happening, especially right now. So a promise to be able to join that growth was very very appealing to me. On the personal ground, I think that somewhere my forefathers, they must have been adventurers and travelers because I cannot stay at home. I cannot be very office bound. So when Mr. Musul, the chairman, the owner of the company, he gave me that opportunity, I didn't really think a lot because it opens up a whole arena of potential developments. So I like that a lot, and I joined them.
Based on your first month in the company, from your point of view, what does Ekol make different than the other Turkish logistics company?
I think that what I associate Turkish logistic providers with is a very unique customer care and a very unique approach to flexibility. Wherever a customer asks for something, there is a way to satisfy that request, that demand. Where I see Ekol a little different is keeping this customer touch. Ekol is adding more technology to that. So I think it is mainly the technology edge, the modern way of doing customer contact and also operational processes.
In the past, you worked for major companies like Rhein Group or DB Schenker Logistics with huge management layers and a big organization. Where do you see difference between a company that is led by managers, they are just managers by definition, or a company like the company of Mr. Musul, which is owner-driven? Where do you see differences?
Well, one of the companies was also owner-driven. Company Rhein also is, let's say, run by the owning president.
Third generation, I guess.
Third generation right now, yes. But anyway, what I think is again different to Ekol and to the way that Mr. Musul runs the company is a very flat organization. So when we say that our doors, the managers' doors are open, it's not only a slogan. The doors are really open. So we don't. On one hand, we don't mind that all people contact us about their failures, their problems, their successes, their ideas. We encourage them to go straight to us. And obviously, maybe sometimes some management structures, some escalation models, maybe they are at the background. But this makes a company very agile, very close to the market, very close to where the customers tell us what is good or what is bad about us.
Mm-hmm. We will talk about your new job, about the internationalization of Ekol Logistics. Do you think Ekol is a purely Turkish brand, or is it recognized as a European logistics brand?
Well, I think we are in a transition period. Clearly, Ekol has been a Turkish brand, and it's not so easy to make a European or a global brand just because we think it's a good idea. So I would say that the process started happening a couple of years ago, and it will still take a couple of years. But from my perspective, it clearly is an international brand. But we don't forget where the roots are. Mm-hmm. It's a deep area of respect. But it's not that, let's say, right now the business doesn't need a passport. The customers don't really ask you where you're from. They want to be satisfied in their present needs.
You're comparing it with the regions.
Yeah, and they really think, okay, not only for today, but for tomorrow, for next year, for 3 years to go, is this the right partner that I want to be? This is the key question, not where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm. I once read a sentence of your Ekol's owner, Ahmet Musul. He once stated that the group's overall target until 2020 would be to reach an overall sales of 1 billion euros.
Yeah, I read that article as well.
By the way, where should that growth come from?
Well, we still think that there is some growth area in Turkey, but where we want the growth to be also balanced is outside of Turkey. Mm-hmm. In the same article, I think it was mentioned that our vision and our ambition is to have 50% of the growth outside of Turkey. So there is a challenge in that, because on one hand, Ekol is a Turkish brand, as we already established, and we are a newcomer in Europe, but we want to develop exactly where we are. So Europe on one hand, Turkey still, but we are looking outside of Europe as well. We are looking Morocco, we are looking Iran. Mm-hmm. And in the 2016, 2017, there may be some materialization coming to my words.
50% is a nice keyword. I guess 50% from your overall sales is just coming from automotive and textile industry. Based also on my professional experience, I guess automotive business is quite vulnerable if you have a too high share in your sales portfolio. Yeah. How is Ekol dealing with that kind of risk?
Well, automotive is I would say, a love-hatred relationship. You love it when everything goes fine, and you hate it when it goes down. But I think that we are still, although the size is already impressive in, let's say, regional terms, we are still agile. So we believe that we will be able to shift our interests when the time comes. Mm-hmm. And by the way, automotive does go by cycles. So there are 2 years of bad market, and then 10 years of good market. So still, I think it makes sense to be in the sector. It is a risky sector in a sense.
Especially in contract logistics.
Yes. It is a risky sector, but tell me which businessman doesn't consider and doesn't go into a risky area for having some, let's say, longer term premium.
Mr. Brzuska, your European customers know Ekol mainly by its very intelligent and innovative ro-ro and intermodal solution to Central Europe via Ludwigshafen and Trieste.
Right, and Cologne. Yeah.
And Cologne. Or you also now have own vessel connections to France, for example.
Yes.
In Turkey, Ekol is also running a huge share of its business in contract logistics, and has also a very high automatization degree. Can you give us an overview or a description how your logistics business looks like outside of Turkey? Is it mainly transportation driven, or also do you also have a footprint in contract logistics?
We do have a footprint in contract logistics. On the whole, Ekol right now has under roof 500,000 square meters, and 400,000 of it is in Turkey, whereas 100,000 is already in Europe. And we're talking Class A terminal and warehousing. Majority of it a huge majority of it is contract logistics. So we've got running operations in Romania, in Italy. We just opened a nice warehouse built especially for us in Budapest in Hungary. But you know, the model of entering a market is that first you make your name known and trusted through transport activities, through transport solutions. When it goes to contract logistics, there is a lot of trust involved. You're talking about 3-year contract, 5-year contract. You're really talking about somebody managing your inventory in your name for your customers. There is a lot of trust coming from international global customers that know us from Turkey, but in Europe we still have to grow that path for ourselves. We are still a baby.
And sometimes it's not balanced, the contract duration of your customers versus the contract duration of your warehouse developers. 10 years versus 3 years.
There is some, let's say, intelligence and smartness that is needed to do it in the right way, but we believe we've got the expertise, and the path is set. We are on that path.
Mr. Brzuska, we are under us here. Is there a real master plan behind the 1 billion euro sales?
Of course.
From which customer segments should the turnover come? FMCG, textile, high-tech, industry, automotive? Do you have any plan behind?
Yeah, I think that we do have a very good answering to the need of automotive. So surely this is going to be also our way of growth. We understand that the importance of Turkey as the market for textile and for fashion retail is going to grow a lot in the coming years. Also, let's say, with a little, what should I say, dissatisfaction, or let's say maturing of Chinese market. It's far away. It stops being so cheap. Turkey, it's not cheap, but it's much, much closer. So I think that automotive and textile, that surely is going to be the sectors where we're going to grow. And, you know, we can say that we saturated the Turkish market quite well, but Europe is totally open for our possibilities. And also when you think outside of Europe, like I mentioned Morocco or Iran. Morocco is huge automotive, it's huge textile,
Renault.
And Iran is huge in anything.
You mentioned growth outside of Turkey, especially Europe. So far, Ekol has established branches and business in about 10 markets outside of Turkey. Which markets beyond Morocco and Iran are coming next, and in which markets we will see Ekol with a major acquisition, for example? Is that also part of your growth planning, or do you only want to grow by organic growth?
We think that we should grow by organic nature. We are a little afraid of potential culture clash. When you buy a company, you buy it with
employees, structures, IT horrific issue.
So our approach to acquisition is very much opportunistic. So when we see an opportunity, it's good business, but also we don't see many risks in terms of culture clash, then we can do it. But we're not a company that would go around Europe looking for companies to buy, so that this is the main model of our growth. So we this year even or next year may see some acquisitions in Europe, but I would suppose that the main leitmotif of our growth is going to be organic growth, setting up greenfield projects and growing from there.
Mr. Brzuska, the market outside of Turkey is even not fully aware that you have the only one research and development center here in Turkey, especially in the logistics industry.
Right.
Recently, you have been awarded for your efforts. Can you give us an overview in a nutshell what kind of efforts you do? What are the major objectives of this research and development center, and which outcomes do you already see in your company?
Well, it's like R&D is our brain. So if you ask what the brain is responsible for, I can only tell you it's responsible for pretty much everything that we do right now. But I think that we can distinguish a number of key functions of R&D. We have got around 90 people there. All of them are right now in Istanbul.
100% academic?
Yeah. It's I would say 95% academic. It's not 100%, but I remember the figure 95%. We spend 6 million euro every year. So let's say if you know logistics sector, you would know that let's say spending over 10% of your revenue is reinvested in R&D activities is not anything that is a standard anywhere else. So what we do in R&D is we develop our own programs. So we use SAP for our administration and business support activities. But for transport management system, for fleet management system, for warehouse management system, we develop software ourselves. And also we need to do a lot of engineering into our processes, because in intermodal business, the success is about synchronization. Because this is the game of big scale, of big numbers. So if we somehow desynchronize a ferry reaching port of Trieste or port of Set, then we are making a number of customers dissatisfied. That's why we're developing a lot of plan A scenarios, plan B scenarios, how to synchronize, how to make things happen from end to end.
You mentioned process optimization. I assume that in many companies, if you got a job offer in the tender management department, this is a horrific job. It's a nightmare, like HR in many major companies. How would you estimate the automatization degree, the level, between different units? For example, you have sea freight, ocean freight, contract logistics, land transport department, which is obviously also doing intermodal business. How do you estimate the automatization degree of process shifting between each mode? Normally you have in major companies, even there you have Excel sheets, manually work.
Yeah, you see, we don't think in terms of product by product. We tend to see more into sector by sector.
Automotive, so vertical markets.
Automotive, textile, industrial, electronics. And there the processes must obviously be interfaced with each other so that, let's say, they are seamless. So let's say between one leg and another leg, between one element of the process and another element of the process, the interface is without any issues. And I would go even further, that each customer, even of mid-size, is a separate project. So it's not that we look at the customer in terms of, okay, here is my land freight, finish, my job is done, now it's for somebody else, it's the sea freight, finish, then it's somebody else. So we've got a team that is covering end-to-end approach.
Last question. Turkey looks back on a very heavy political year. Also in economic dimension, let's look back to the heavy Turkish lira devaluation. How did that affect also the Turkish business and international business of Ekol?
Well, there is not an easy answer for that. We are experts in logistics, we are experts in transportation. We are not a financial institution, we don't know how to hedge. Some of the business is naturally hedged because some of our contracts, both on sales side and on the cost side, are either euro or dollar expressed. But still, there is quite a lot of lira business, either on the cost side or on the revenue side, or both. And there we simply try to be very open to our customers and present what's happening out there in the market. We believe in partnership with customers, and sometimes we get that partnership back. Not always, that's true, but we need to manage that problem.
Do you have any outlook for the year 2016?
In terms of?
In terms of
Turkish
turnover,
lira development,
EBIT margin, customer solutions.
Last year we grew by 25%. I mean, 2015 is going to be more or less 25% bigger than 2014. We'll reach the level of €500 million. And we are more optimistic into going to 2016 because the seeds that we planted in Europe, some of small trees or bigger trees are 3, 4, 5 year old. So we expect that they will bring better revenue. When I say better revenue, it's the quality of revenue, so more margin inside. But also we are opening, in 2015, we opened up Poland, which is a big market, successful market. We will, at the end of 2015, we'll open still Bulgaria, Czech and Slovakia, so they will also start growing. So I would be surprised if we don't see, again, 25% growth.
We will read it out of the market. Maybe next time again here on the chair. By the way, was that and is that your first visit of the Logitrans here in Istanbul?
Yeah, I've never been here, but I'm quite glad to see. I knew, let's say, the bigger brother in Munich, but let's say it really looks like a smaller brother, but a brother. So it always is a good family.
Mr. Brzuska, thanks for answering all the questions.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for
pleasure.
being the first interview guest here on the chair, and have a nice afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.